Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum everyone. On this IBS Center for Excellence in Islamic Finance webinar series, आज हमारा जो टॉपिक है, it's a very important topic, overview of rescheduling and restructuring of Islamic finance facilities in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. What are the options and challenges that are available to us as Islamic Bank? So this will be an 1 hour, 1.5 hour session, inshallah. What we have done today is that we have structured the session in a manner that for the first 60 to 70 minutes, we will be discussing the presentation that will cover the topic. And then the next 20 to 30 minutes, we will reserve for the question, answers, and queries. So inshallah, we'll try that we can finish the session by 4 or 4:15. There are few ground rules. Please mute your mics, and if there is any query, please you can either raise hand, or it's better if you can write the query or write the question in the chat box, so our team can collect the questions, and then in the end we will answer all the queries. I'm seeing some messages that people are not hearing the voice correctly. I'm sure now they can hear it better. Now, okay, it's better. Good. So let's again start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The outline for the presentation today is as follows. I will give a brief overview of the overall picture of the world. What were the key impact of the COVID-19 to the world economy, and what are the challenges that we see at the global level. Then I will quickly jump to the Pakistan scenario, what we are facing challenges, what type of challenges we are facing in Pakistan. And then I will discuss some of the measures taken by State Bank of Pakistan and the government of Pakistan to help the banking sector as well as the customers, and to provide or to facilitate the customers in these tough times. In the next part, I will discuss a few broader guidelines that as Islamic Bank, or when you are using Islamic mode of finance, these broader guidelines we will keep in mind when we are dealing with our customers for restructuring and rescheduling their transaction. And then I will discuss mode-wise each mode of finance that is popular in Pakistan, that what are the possible and potential treatments we as Islamic Bank can do to help the client, keeping in within the parameters of Sharia compliance and the product boundary that we are using. And then in the end, I will just wrap up the session, and then we will have question answers. Now, if we see the impact or global impact of this pandemic, according to the Asian Development Bank, this COVID-19 is going to cost the world economy in the range of $2 trillion to $4.1 trillion. And this is you can say the scale and impact of this coronavirus is unprecedented in the modern history, with more than 200 countries affected by it, severe lockdowns happening in different parts of the world. World travel has come to halt, and several industries are now facing significant threat because of this impact and lockdown. According to the recent estimates by IMF, International Monetary Fund, global economy is projected to contract sharply by 3% in 2020. And even so, in the advanced economies of G20, the expected decline is around 6.1%, which is making it a worst experience since the Great Depression of 1930, and we have already, according to some experts, surpasses the financial crisis impact of 2008 and 2009. So this is something a very mega scale challenge to the world economy as a whole. And in this time, the unique challenge is that almost all countries on the globe has been affected by this crisis. According to the estimates by World Trade Organization, the global trade volumes are projected to decline between 13 to 32% in 2020 due to this pandemic, which means import will go down, export will go down, international value chain and supply chain will be disrupted, and then there will be challenges for countries to even import the essential items. We have also seen a sharp decline and turbulent time in the stock markets, and commodity prices have also witnessed a decline as a general principle. Regarding another challenge that is highlighted by International Labour Organization, ILO, that 81% of the global workforce, which is approximately 3.3 billion people, are currently affected, and 81% of the 3.3 billion people are affected by full or partial workplace closure. And out of this 3.3 billion, around 1.25 billion people or workers are at high risk sectors. And there is a possibility, if the crisis goes worse, this workforce can be badly affected. The current data regarding unemployment and expected job losses and reduction in working hours is already in the range of 130 million full-time jobs. So which means that the current impact is estimated that we have lost 130 million full-time jobs, and as a result 130 million people who were otherwise full-time employed are now you can say they are unemployed, or they have lost their most of the working hours. Industries like airline industry, travel industry, and tourism industry are also facing serious trouble. Retail industry and export link industries are also badly affected, and we are now seeing the result. Very recently, I was reading yesterday that several international airlines are going towards bankruptcy, and few airlines have already filed for bankruptcy, which is the result of the global travel halt. Quickly, stock markets have also reacted very erratically. In the first quarter, we have seen sharp decline in the value of stock, and only we have seen some recovery in the April this year. This is mainly because of the stimulus packages and pumping of money and providing relief by the government and central banks. And as a result of these relief, we have seen some restoration of investors' confidence, and now stock markets have behaved, you can say, positively in the last month. Similarly, if you see the gold price, the impact on the commodity prices, almost all commodities have gone down because of this. Again, the demand has gone down, and the significant impact we can see is on the oil, which has reduced significantly because of the reduction in global demand, as well as there's some political angle to it. The growth rates is expected to be in negative in most of the economies, and it is estimated that economies like USA and Germany and France and Italy will experience negative growth rate. And an estimated unemployment is also expected to be on the higher side, and in some cases it is expected to be double because of this crisis. And this unemployment raise also means a lot of people will be going towards the poverty line, or they will be facing serious trouble to meet their daily requirements. Now, coming to the impact of this COVID-19 or coronavirus on the Pakistan economy, as we have seen that this virus has virtually shut down the country under full or partial lockdown. The intercity travel was stopped. Most of the markets, retail areas, factories were shut down, and still they are struggling to reopen. And we can say still we are in the phase of partial lockdown. Some segments of the economy or the markets are open for a restricted time, but at present still we are on a partial lockdown phase. According to the World Bank report, the South Asia region can face a worse economic performance since last 40 years. Pakistan economy, which was already struggling due to its own challenges, now it's faced another mega challenge because of this, and we are expecting a negative growth rate because of this pandemic. One estimate, which was I hope it's a wrong estimate, but the hypothetical worst case scenario for Pakistan is a loss estimate of $5 billion US, and around 1 million job losses. So this is serious for Pakistan economy as well. However, the government has taken several steps, and this is true for almost all governments in the world are coming up with some steps and stimulus packages to help the economy, help the business sector, and to fight the unemployment so people can maintain their livelihood at a reasonable or at least at a minimum level. The government have given stimulus packages for the businesses, especially for the construction sector. There are some incentives to invest in the construction sector. Relief package of 75 billion has been announced for SME. There was a 1.2 trillion stimulus package announced by the Prime Minister. The government is also hoping to push the housing, Naya Pakistan housing scheme that will create more employments and will provide stimulus required to the economy. At the central bank level, central bank has again taken various steps. Few of them which are related to Islamic finance or Islamic banks are as follows: Islamic Temporary Economic Relief Facility, Islamic Relief Facility for combating COVID, this is a specific related facility for hospitals to build capacity to fight the coronavirus. There was an Islamic refinance scheme for payment of wages and salaries. It is again another effort by the central bank to keep to save people from unemployment and help the companies and the businesses to retain their employees and in these hard times. There are regulatory reliefs given by the central bank in the prudential regulation to avoid rescheduling and restructuring, and they have allowed deferment of principal up to 1 year. And this 1 year deferment will not be classified or will not be classified as rescheduled or restructuring, and it will not impact the CIB of the customer. So this is a good relief from the customer point of view, that if they are facing difficulty in payment of the principal amount, or in some cases payment of the profit amount, they can apply for this facility and they can negotiate deferment of the principal and in some case of the profit amount as well. SECP has also taken similar steps. They have allowed NBFCs and microfinance companies for deferment of their loan and because of the COVID-19 pandemic. State Bank has reduced the policy rate to 9. We all know around 4.25% rate has been reduced. State Bank has also relaxed the DBR or debt burden ratio for the consumer loan from 50 to 60%. This will allow consumers to have a higher DBR and they can have a higher financing facility. And in cases of the rate goes up, they have a significant cover. The regulatory limit on extension of credit to SME has been permanently increased to 180 million rupees. So, and there's another step by State Bank that, keeping in view the sharp decline in the share prices, the margin call requirement of 30% against bank financing has been reduced to 10%. So these are a few of the measures that State Bank has taken to help or to ensure that the economy keeps on track and we can fight this coronavirus impact on the economy. Businesses can smoothly run. The number of NPLs should not increase significantly, and the customers are provided relief in these times. Now, for relaxation of customers, State Bank BPRD has specifically issued circulars, but most relevant are the circular number 13 and 14 of 2020, where different reliefs are provided for the customers. One major relief is the rescheduling and restructuring of financing facility by deferment of principal amount up to 1 year without being classified as rescheduled or restructured. However, to avail this facility, State Bank has required that the client should apply by 30th June 2020, and banks have 15 working days to decide whether they want to give financing to this customer or not. And if in case there is a refusal from the bank side, then the banks are required to inform the central bank about the reason of this decline or this refusal of extension. So there is a possibility of refusal at the bank side, but you need to be very careful because you have to justify the refusal case if you're refusing a case. And there will be some cases which needs to be refused because they are not they are not genuine, or they may just want to avail the benefit without any justification. But in a general sense, the direction of the central bank is also to accommodate customers. And also one of the important point is that in case of rescheduling or giving 1 year more, enhancing the tenure, the banks cannot increase the profit margins with the clients, which normally banks do when they do a rescheduling transaction or restructuring transaction. They negotiate rates, but in this case, banks are required to keep the same margin amount. In fact, in some cases, banks are required to reduce the CIBOR for the current period. The applicable segment for this rescheduling includes corporate, SME, commercial segments, consumer banking segment, agriculture, financing, and microfinance. So almost all segments are part of this. It excludes the government financing and the financing given to the government-owned enterprises, like for example, like financing given to PASCO or TCP or some like PHL Power Holding Limited. So it excludes the financing given to the government sector or government-owned enterprises. Also, it excludes the financing given by the central bank under the export refinance scheme. So if a customer has taken a financing under export refinance scheme, he cannot apply for 1 year deferment of principal. There's one more step that State Bank has taken, and it has actually recommended the Pakistan Banking Association and the banking industry through PBA that because there was a rate cut in March, late March, so from 1st April, the CIBOR has gone down. So State Bank wished that all the banks should pass on this one-time rate reduction to the customers in the middle of their financing period. For example, if the reset date or the annual repricing date has not yet due, for example, if a customer's repricing date is 1st of July and he has like 6-month period for fixation of his pricing, so the State Bank wants that on 1st April, banks reprice those customers in a manner that their effective rate from the next month is reduced and they get the benefit of the reduction of CIBOR. So this is, however, this facility of reduction is in CIBOR is not for every customer. The PBA has suggested to the banking industry that this facility of one-time reduction should be given to SME, for agriculture financing to small farmers, and for consumer financing segment where self-employed professional are provided financing under consumer finance modes. So, these are the 3 areas where State Bank has asked, or as PBA has asked its member banks to provide relief to their customers. Now, main challenges that we see or that we foresee when we do a restructuring transaction in the Islamic bank. We all know the products of Islamic banks are quite different from conventional banks. And in case of an Islamic banks or conventional banks, there's one single product that you provide interest-free loan. So you provide interest-based loan to your customers, and it's very easy to extend. For example, I have given 100 million on 10% interest to my client. If I want to increase the tenure to further 1 year, I'll just charge 1 year more interest from the client at the same rate. So it's very easy in case of conventional banking, because the product and the methodology of conventional banking is quite different. However, when we come to Islamic banks, when we come to Islamic banks, we see that this simple formula of extending the loan amount and loan tenure and charging rate of interest is not present, and this luxury is not present with us as Islamic banks. So what we do, the challenge is we need to see each and every mode of financing separately, and probably each and every mode of finance will require some separate treatment. In some cases, it is possible to extend the financing period and also incorporate the profit element into it, and you can continue charging your rent, or you can continue sharing your profit if the tenure is increased. But in some cases, it is not possible to just enhance the financing tenure, because that would mean that you are losing because you cannot increase the profit, and your deposit holders will suffer because they cannot they will not get any benefit out of this financing. So we have to see, and we have to be very careful that what are the possible options we have available as Islamic bank. Generally, we Islamic banks have three set of modes that we use for financing. Sale-based modes, which includes Murabaha, Istisna, Salam, Tijara, and Musawama. Then we have rental-based modes like Ijara transaction, or the diminishing musharaka transaction. And then we have partnership-based modes like musharaka, mudarba, or running musharaka. So we have three broader classification of Islamic finance modes that we use. Second challenge, that is our mode of financing is just not simple. Sometimes our financing transactions are you can say divided into 3 stages or 2 stages. Normally financing transaction is divided into advanced stage, inventory or asset procurement stage, and the receivable stage. So even for Murabha transaction, which is just simply you buy raw material and you sell the raw material on a deferred payment to your client, the transaction of Murabha can have 3 stages. The advanced stage where you have given fund to the supplier to buy the asset, the inventory stage where the asset is delivered to the bank, but it is not you can say sold to the client, and the third stage is the receivable stage where the asset is sold to the client, and you can say the price has become a debt, a price has become a receivable. So then what measure you can take in this case? Now I'll come to the implementation part, and before I go to a specific mode, what I would like to do is discuss some guiding principles which Islamic banks should use, and they are using in the light of Sharia guidelines when they are dealing with the restructuring case. First and foremost, if the transaction has converted into a debt or a receivable or a qarz, so Islamic bank cannot charge any extra amount for just extending the date of payment. So if a Murabaha receivable is due and you have to collect 5 million rupees on say 5th of April, If you increase the repayment time or the payment time, and you extend the tenure of payment and say, okay, Mr. Client, you can pay me after 3 months, you cannot increase the amount of receivable. So this is this is the prime guiding principle. If the transaction is has converted into a debt, or it's in the receivable stage, then you cannot charge anything extra if you extend the tenure, or if you give relief to the customer. In case of sale-based transaction, the price can be renegotiated before offer and acceptance. Like in Murabaha, we can renegotiate the price if we have not sold the goods. We can say, okay, now we were expecting to sell the goods, say at 1,000 rupees of profit over the cost, but now because I'm allowing you credit term of say 12 months, I will sell these goods at 3,000 rupees of profit. So before you have entered into a sale transaction, you can renegotiate the price with the customer. Or in case of istisna, if the delivery has not taken place, so the bank as an orderer and the client as a manufacturer can renegotiate the price and the delivery terms. So this is also possible. In partnership based mode, if the asset is given on rent, so in rental based mode, if the rental tenure is extended, so if I have given a car on ijara for 5 years, now I want to give this car on ijara for 6 years, I can charge additional rent for the 6th year or for the additional year. So it is very easy in case of rental transaction that you can charge the rent as per the client agreement, or as with the mutual consent of the client for additional tenure that you are giving to the client, and there is no Sharia issue, but you have to mutually agree this rental. In partnership based modes, future profit sharing ratio can be reduced or can be enhanced with mutual consent. So that is the option you have available. There's another option that if you see no solution, and for example you are in a receivable stage, or the transaction is such that you cannot extend the tenure of the rental period, or you cannot extend the delivery of istisna, or there's any other challenge, then Islamic Bank can enter into a new transaction which will help the customer in payment of the previous transaction or in settlement of the previous transaction. And then that new transaction can have its own terms and conditions, and you can then agree on the commercial aspect of the transaction, and you can earn profit on the transaction as well. If a customer is in a genuine distress, this is an important point. The banks shall also explore the option of providing extension of time in payment as a good gesture without increasing the price to waive portion of the profit or receivable. I request someone is writing on the screen from his pen. That will create a problem for everyone. So please don't use the marker or pen which is in the in the Zoom function to write on the screen, because that everyone will see that same thing and then will get confused. So if a customer is in genuine distress, the bank shall also explore option of providing extension of time in payment without increasing the price, or even in case of again genuine distress, the bank may view to waive a portion of profit or receivable. Islamic Bank should also be open to provide interest-free qarz hasan or qarz to their genuine customers, maybe for a short time as and when required, to help the customers as well as to help the economy to come out of the crisis. So we should not shy away from using even qarz as a mode in these times. For example, recently I can share that in case of Meezan, the facility that State Bank has given for hospitals. So Meezan Bank has decided to provide financing to few hospitals at 0%. So as a qarz, Meezan Bank is providing them. So in the time of need, being an Islamic bank, there are certain expectations from us as well that we have to be careful and we have to be ethical. And if there is a genuine distress case, the bank can, view the situation positively. Obviously, without being blackmailed by the client or without being exploited by the client, we have to protect our deposit holders' interest as well as our customers' interest, but we have to strike a balance in these cases. Now, I'll come to specific modes. First, I will discuss Murabaha and Musawama. As we are well aware that in Murabaha and Musawama, there are normally 3 stages. Advanced stage where you have made payment to the supplier, or inventory stage where, for example, Meezan Bank has or Islamic Bank has bought, say, Ruh Afza from Hamdard. So that bottles of Ruh Afza will come to Meezan Bank ownership in some form. So that that is the inventory stage, and the time where we are waiting for the goods to come is the advanced stage. So if the transaction is in the advanced stage or inventory stage, and we have not sold the goods to the client, to our end customer, then it's easier in that we can extend the tenure of Murabaha. For example, initially we were thinking to do a Murabaha of just 3 months. After this, we can say, let's do the Murabaha of 15 months. And we agree on a profit, and we will compute the profit for 15 months, and we build the profit on the over the cost, and we do a sale purchase transaction with our client. However, the challenge in this case is that we have to fix the rate for 12 months. This is sometimes not a common practice to have a fixed rate Murabaha of 12 months or 15 months. But in this case, this is the challenge that Islamic banks, if they are doing a long-term Murabaha, they have to fix the rate for their clients. Now, if the transaction has converted from inventory or advanced stage to financing stage, which means that we have already sold the goods to the client, and now the payment has become a receivable or a debt. Now, in that case, additional profit cannot be charged due to further deferment as Murabaha or Musawama price. So we cannot charge additional amount just because of deferment. So this is very clear, and the Sharia scholars are very clear. The central bank is also very clear that if we charge anything extra on the debt portion, it can become riba, or it will enter into impermissible zone. However, what option we have as Islamic bank is that we can ask our customer to settle the transaction on time, but we can assure him that we will provide you we are not reducing your limits, we are not cancelling your limits. You will get this, you will enjoy the same credit limit under a separate or new transaction. And for that, you can do a istisna transaction, you can do a tijara, you can do a salam, or even you can do a module transaction, or in extreme cases, even you can do a commodity muraba or tawarruk to help the client generate the liquidity to settle the previous muraba receivable and enter into a fresh transaction. However, both of these transactions should be done independently, and they are not contractually linked to each other. And also, if the Islamic banks want to, pass on the benefit of rate reduction in Murabaha, we can do by reducing we can do so by reducing the rate if the offer acceptance has not taken place, or by giving a one-time hiba to our client as a gesture of goodwill, that because of the pandemic and because of the rate reduction in the market, we are giving you one-time relief by reducing your rate or by giving you hiba. Now, Coming to the second most popular set of sale-based mode, which are Salam, Istisna, and Tijara in the Pakistani market. Again, if the transaction is in advanced stage, the customer has not yet delivered the good to the bank. This will not apply to Tijara, because in Tijara you just go and buy the goods immediately. But in Istisna and Salam, the date can be extended. The delivery date can be extended with the for the transaction with the mutual consent, subject to the fact that you have enough cushion in the incentive fee or in the sale price. The purchase price that was agreed with the client can be reduced or revised with mutual consent, so to cater for the longer tenure margins that Islamic banks are now proposing. For example, if we want, say, we are doing a istisna of football with our client, and we say, okay, you provide this 10,000 footballs in 5 months or 3 months. Now you are saying that because the factory is closed, the shipments are not going out, and there's a issue on the demand side and on the supply side, and there's a lockdown problem. So we can say to our client and discuss with our client that, okay, my initial order was to deliver that you have to deliver me football in 3 months. Now you deliver in, say, 9 months or 10 months. And because the delivery has not taken place, we Islamic bank and the client will sit together and they will revise the written offer and the price. So they can cater for the longer, and they can probably, what will happen in case of Islamic bank, we will ask for more discount on the selling price of the football. So for example, if the previous football price was 500 rupees, we may request the customer to sell us for 450 rupees or something. So we have the margin to cover the extended tenure. If the goods are delivered, so the advanced stage is over, the goods are already delivered to Islamic bank. Now, then what we can do is that we can ask our customer or allow our customer more time to sell the goods in the market on credit, or to hold on our behalf for a longer tenure. For example, normally istisna transaction in Pakistan are for 6 months or 3 months. So if we have taken the delivery and we want our client to sell the goods in next 1 month, because that was agreed earlier, but now because of the change in the scenario, we can say, okay, you can sell the goods in the next 6 months. So hold the goods for next 3 months or 4 months, and then you can sell it in the market on credit or on cash, whatever is the feasible scenario. And in this manner, we can extend the tenure of the transaction. However, the price is already fixed. So what we can do, that we can reduce or enhance the incentive fee of the client. If we, for example, we can reduce the incentive fee of the client if he wants a longer tenure to sell the goods in the market and to collect the payment price and the sale proceed from the ultimate buyer. However, the additional challenge for Islamic bank in this case is we were, for example, carrying the football risk for just 5 days or 10 days. Now we are asking our customer, because there is no shipment, the football tournament has cancelled, so you can hold these footballs for next 3 months or 6 months. So we are carrying on additional inventory risk on our balance sheet, because we are not selling the footballs as per the earlier schedule. The solution will also not work in cases where goods are sold on immediate or cash basis. For example, there are certain transactions where the shelf life is very low. You cannot hold the goods, and the market is this cash market. So yes, this solution will not work in those cases where the market is cash. However, what we can do again in this case, similar to the previous Muraba receivable case, that we can ask our customer that please close the transaction on time, and we will extend you another fresh transaction. So your cash flow will not be stuck up, or your banking line will not be reduced, and you can continue with a fresh transaction. So this fresh transaction could be istisna, could be tijara, could be salam, even could be sale and leaseback on diminishing musharaka or ijara basis. And in some cases, maybe it is wiser to shift from sale-based modes to rental-based modes in the current scenario, because sale price and the sale market is quite volatile. The demands are going haywire. The exports orders are being cancelled. The new things are not being. You are not able to import things. Retail markets are partially shut down. So maybe it is better in some scenario that you shift from sale-based modes to the rental-based modes, where a fixed asset or usable asset is available with the client, and you extend the tenure, and you can switch to a facility which does not carry normal market risk, because in sale-based transaction, especially istisna, tijara and salam, in addition to the credit risk, you are also exposed to market risk and the demand and supply of the product in the market. So if you shift from sale-based mode to rental-based modes, that could be a wise decision depending on the nature of the product. As per State Bank of Pakistan, we cannot charge any documentation or any processing fee for rescheduling of any of these transactions. So if you are planning to charge a document processing fees, that is out of question. If a customer has already applied for rescheduling and deferment, yes, he can apply for repricing, or he can also apply or ask for a one-time discount because of the reduction in Khyber, subject to the fact that this customer should belong to SME or agriculture segment. A corporate customer cannot demand, as per the current understanding of the PBA, a reduction of Khyber in the middle of the facility if the tenure or the formula is already agreed. Yes, but the corporate customers normally do a short, if they are doing transactions, they sometimes do short-term transactions. So at the time of the repricing date, or at the time of the maturity date, they can do a new transaction with the new Khyber rate. Now, if the transaction has entered into financing stage, so for example, in istisna, in tijara and salam, the client has already sold your goods in the market. Now again, this is similar to a receivable stage. The goods are gone and the purchase price is due to the to be collected. Now in this case, what options we have? We can extend the tenure may be extended to the extent where incentive of the customer comes to zero without charging additional profit due to extension in tenure. So for example, if the customer has sold to a third party in the market, and then the customer tells us that the ultimate buyer has requested further time, so you can go or you can defer the collection till the time your schedule allows, keeping in view the incentive margin, because we normally keep an incentive margin, and as our customers delay in collection of the sale proceed from the ultimate buyer, this incentives normally goes down. So if the ultimate buyer is not paying, we can even relax the ultimate buyer or our client till the time our incentive customer's incentive becomes zero. Sometimes this technique will allow 3 months, or in some cases even 6 months of extension. However, if the credit period has gone and there is no incentive cushion, then you can call for corporate guarantee. If there's a independent corporate guarantee given of the ultimate buyer, given by your corporate or your SME client, and then this transaction can be settled, and you can do a new or a fresh istisna, salam, tijara, diminishing musharaka, sale and leaseback, or even a bay module or a commodity muraba transaction with this client. But again, you have to be very careful when we are dealing with istisna and salam and tijara. In order to pass on the benefit of rate cut, Islamic Bank can provide more incentive in case of istisna tijara salam or as hiba to the client to set off the impact of the rate reduction for your client. So you can also do hiba, or you can increase his incentive, or you can give him additional incentive at the end, that look, you have, as my agent, you have sold my goods, you have done very well, so I am giving you one time incentive that will that as under agency agreement, I'm giving you some incentive that will help you to in terms of IRR, that will help you to a reduction of rate for you. So we can do this as well. Now coming to the diminishing musharaka transactions, diminishing musharaka is relatively easier transaction in a sense that normally we have two stages: advanced stages where the agreement has not started and the asset is under construction stage. So and so we have not entered into a lease agreement as yet. So if the transaction is in the advanced stage, what we can simply do, we can enhance the overall tenure of the transaction by 1 year more. For example, we are doing it for 10 years, we can do it, or 5 years, we can do it for 6 years now. And for the first year, we can install a grace period for the client. So there is no unit purchase for the first 12 months, and he will just pay the rent to you. If the transaction has entered into rental stage, because where the asset is in a usable stage given to the client for use. So what you can do, we can defer the unit sale for 1 year. However, our rental will remain constant for the 1 year, or will be calculated as per the agreed formula. And then we will enhance the ijara or the payment agreement tenure by 1 year by revising the payment agreement. And we can also we also need to revise our undertaking to sell and undertaking to purchase, because now we are actually installing a 1 year grace period in the middle of the transaction. So there will be no unit purchase from the client. This will happen in case of our corporate and SME clients, and also it can also happen in the case of our house finance clients, because diminishing musharaka is one of the popular mode in house finance. However, my one precaution and advice that when we do for consumers, consumer may come up with say that I want 1 year grace period, but it may not, he may have not worked out the financial impact. So what for the consumer it means that the consumer will be getting a 1 year grace period, and he will be paying the rental only. He will be paying a rental only for 1 year, and maybe after 1 year he can say and come to your bank that look, I paid 500,000 in the rent for the last 1 year, and my principal is at the same stage where it was previously, so you have done wrong with me. So I have advised my bank that when a consumer come for extension of tenure, please make him sign additional annexure and show him that yes, we are providing you 1 year grace period, but it will increase your financial cost, because for the 1 year you will just be paying rent amount, and you will not be paying out or buying out any unit, which means your principal or your musharaka investment or bank's musharaka share in the property will remain constant, and your rent will not reduce as it normally goes down every month in case of diminishing musharaka. So if we have to brief properly and maybe get some undertaking or some schedule signed from the customer which says that I am deliberately applying for the grace period. I understand, I was told by the bank that by applying this grace period, I am increasing my financial cost, and I am agreeing to that. So you have to take care of yourself, and also you have to understand or you explain your customer that when they apply, they should not apply unnecessarily for deferment of principal. They should only apply where there is a genuine need to do so. So So you in case of diminishing musharaka, you will just install a grace period. You will not sell the unit for next 12 months, and after 12 months you will start selling the units again. So the tenure of the transaction will be extended by 1 year. However, in terms of IRR, banks are quite comfortable because we will continue to earn the same IRR or same rate of profit on this transaction as agreed with the client. In order to pass one-time relief of rate reduction, we can do two things. We can revise the rental notice for our client. Say, for example, if a client comes to you for a housing finance case with the annual repricing, his repricing date comes, say, every September. So from 1st April to 1st September, there are 6 months. So what you can do, you can contact the client that we are for the 6 months we are revising your rental to a lower amount because of the rate relief. Or what you can do, second option, you don't do the rate revision, you don't revise the rental notice, you keep the rental notice as it is, and you send a letter to the client that as per the rental notice, you are required to pay 25,000 or 24,000 and 23,000 every month. But being as an Islamic bank, and in order to provide you relief, we are giving you one-off hiba every month for the next 6 months. So you, instead of paying 25,000, you pay 23,000 or 22,000 till September. So this is so technically the amount due is 25, but you are giving him hiba of 2,000. So without going in the exercise of revising the rental notice, you can also adopt the hiba mechanism in this case. Now coming to ijara transaction. Ijara is again a long-term, is a lease transaction. We have a few options in ijara because ijara accounting is a bit complicated as compared to diminishing musharaka. So we have 3-4 options for ijara. So for example, first lease period, first basic simple case, you can enhance the lease period by 1 year. A client come to you, say, I have taken this machinery on ijara or car on ijara for 3 years, now I want it for 4 years. So you can say to the client, okay, I will increase your tenure by 1 year, and I will calculate and compute the rent based on now the 4-year period, or based on the remaining period, and I will advise you a simple monthly rent without going into the breakup of principal or profit, because in case of our ijara transaction, there is no separate breakup of principal and profit. So you can say, I am extending your lease period by 1 year, and I am recomputing your ijara rental. As a result, your rental will be reduced because now it is extended to 4 years or 5 years. And this can be done by revising and agreeing on the rental notice and rental schedule with the client, and revising the undertaking to purchase. The bank can also pass on the one-time relief again, either by revising the rental till the next reset date, or by giving one-off hiba to the client on the over the rental amount. So you can do so. There was in case of if a client is already in overdue situation. So again, the State Bank circular has also guided that those clients who are in overdue, who are current by December 2019, can enjoy the benefits, or who are in less than 90 days, they can also enjoy the benefit of rescheduling and restructuring. So you can also pass on the benefit of rescheduling and restructuring for those clients who are within 90 days DPD. One option, this option also can come for diminishing musharaka and in ijara, that you what you say that okay, we are rental amount, we are agreeing on the rental amount, but we are deferring the collection of the rental amount. So your rental will remain same in diminishing musharaka or in ijara, but we will not collect the amount. It will accrue, and we will collect the amount, say after 6 months or after 3 months or even after 1 year in a lump sum payment, or after 1 year we will collect this due amount in smaller installments over time. So what you are doing in this case is also again facilitating the customer that, okay, although you have to pay 25,000 every month, but we are not asking you to pay 25 now. You can pay 75,000 after 3 months, or maybe 250,000 after 12 months, and don't pay anything in between. Or this out of this 250,000, you pay 50% at 12 months, and the 50% we will allow you to pay in the next 6 installments. So something like that can be done. But in this case, this will benefit the customer, as he has to pay the rental on after the deferred period or agreed relaxation period with the client, to the bank. And then bank can collect the lump sum rental at the end, or bank can spread the rental over the time. This can be done by revising the rental notice, the due date on the rental notice, and undertaking to purchase. But one thing you need to keep in mind, that this will impact the IRR of the bank, because your IRR will be slightly reduced because you're not receiving the cash flow from the client transaction. Second, very important point, that you will not be allowed to charge anything over this rental receivable, because this rental receivable has become ours. So this rental will be receivable of rental receivable portion will not be incorporated when you are calculating future rentals or revising future rentals for your client. For example, I know in case of Meezan, for example, we were discussing to provide to a particular segment of those commercial vehicle trawlers. We have taken these big trawlers on rent from Meezan Bank, that we were thinking, and still we are thinking, to provide them a relief that they don't need to pay anything for the next 3 months. Although their rental is due, but we are not demanding them, we are just accumulating that amount. So so what is the accounting benefit to bank? That we can accrue the income on these 3 months period. There will be no depreciation loss to the general pool. However, we will slightly lose on the IRR, which is acceptable to us, and that is also like helping the client, that once his normal roads are open, intercity transport is open, he will start earning again, and then he can pay amount as to the rental back to us, either in one lump sum go, or in maybe in 2-3 smaller chunks. But no additional profit on this receivable will be charged from the client. Third option in Ijara again is rental are reduced in a manner that it only provides for the IRR base return to the bank for 1 year, and does not cover the depreciation cost element or depreciation aspect of that is being charged to the bank. So in a conventional language, you are just not charging the principal, you are just charging the crude profit component from the client. Although in case of Ijara, the whole rental is profit, but you are reducing the profit or rental to cover the IRR aspect of the amortization table. And after, so you will do this for 1 year, you will collect lower rental for 1 year. This will not cover your depreciation cost. And after 1 year, you start collecting the normal rental, and the Ijara tenure is extended. What will be the benefit to the customer? That customer monthly payment will be reduced sharply. This can be done by revising the rental notice and undertaking to purchase. However, one caution. In this case, your general deposit pool may suffer a loss, because depreciation amount is a significant amount. If you're not charging it, you're not receiving it from your client, but you're charging it to the deposit pool. So it may result in a negative return for your general deposit pool. So you have to be careful when you apply this concept. That is why we have come up with 3-4 different methods how to tackle ijara transaction. At present, when we have discussed this with our accounting auditors, because this is a new situation for them, they are not agreeing at present to defer the charging of depreciation cost to the ijara pool. If they agree to defer the depreciation cost, then this method can be will not result in any loss to the depositor pool, and bank can easily adopt it. But at present, there is a problem with this method. Bank, in case of in ijara case, for example, if in this case, when you are just you are taking lower rental, it means that in a conventional term, your principal is not coming back. So your rental will be your rental will be charged on the total amount, and which means that you will, in terms of IRR, you will cover your profit, but in the long term, you will cover or you will earn the same IRR which is desired. But in the short run, in this 1 year tenure, because of the depreciation issue, your general pool may suffer a loss. The fourth suggested option is that periodic rentals are reduced and residual value of the ijara transaction is increased without increasing the tenure, or in some case with the increase of the tenure. So for example, in a normal ijara transaction, our security deposit is reduced to 0, and there's the residual value is normally 0 or 1,000 rupees or 100 rupees, and we gift the asset or sell the asset at a token price. But what we can do here is that in order to provide relief to the customer, we can say to the client, okay, your initial RV was 0, but we are revising your RV to say 25%. So your residual value is now 25%. As a result, his periodic rent during the currency of the ijara tenure will be reduced. So you can mutually agree on a revised schedule. You can mutually agree on a RV concept. You have to explain the concept to the client that this means you're paying lower rental for the next 12 months or next 24 months, but at the end you have to buy the asset at 25% cost. So in a sense, you are deferring his principal towards the end of the transaction. If you don't want to increase the tenure, you can also do that. Or if you want to increase the tenure, you can also do that. Or you can have the option at the end that when the RV stage comes, you can ask the client that either you pay RV and buy the asset from the bank, or you take another facility, or you extend the ijara for another 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. So you can, if you don't want to pay lump sum at the end. So you can have this option for our client, where we use the RV concept to, to reduce his rentals. Now, the another important mode is the Shirkatul Aqd or running Musharaka or Musharaka based modes. In Pakistan, over the last few years, the running Musharaka concept has significantly increased, and now in terms of overall share of financing, the running Musharaka financing or Shirkatul Aqd based financing is now more than Murabaha based financing in Pakistan. However, Shirkat or running Musharaka or Shirkatul Aqd, they are partnership in the business, and they carry, in addition to the credit risk, they actually carry the business risk and the market risk of the client. So in this case, normally when the Musharaka is started, your transaction is in the investment stage. And what you can do, you can, for example, you did a running musharaka of just 3 months. Now you expect that in 3 months the business situation is not good, the markets are closed, so you mutually extend the tenure of the musharaka from 3 months to 1 year. So when at the end of 1 year you make the income statement of musharaka, there will be a lockdown period and then there will be a normal activity period. So you will share the overall impact of the transaction after 1 year. So in that manner, you can you are not only extending the tenure, but you're also hedging yourself for the immediate close down of the business and immediate expected loss or potential loss that can come to the bank because of this musharaka transaction. So one concept is to increase the tenure of musharaka to 1 year, to 1.5 years, or even to 2 years. And then you'll say we will do an on-account settlement during the year, and after 2 years we'll do the complete close out of the musharaka transaction. However, if you see today that it is not feasible to continue musharaka with this client, you can also serve a notice of you can serve a termination notice to the client, but you have to offer him an alternative facility, and you have to discuss with the client that look, at the present scenario, maybe running musharaka or musharaka is not feasible for the future. Yes, for the past we are also your partner, but for the future it is not feasible. So let's convert and end our musharaka for the time being and do a sale and leaseback transaction, which is more ideal. So we'll give you facility, we'll give you the funds, and we will continue to do enter into a rental contract with you, or we'll do a istisna tijara salam, or even a commodity muraba or a bay module transaction. So you pay the musharaka and you convert to a less riskier mode. Because this is also important, because shirkat aqd or running musharaka has its ease, but it has its own risks as well. So in this current scenario, when the gross margin in some cases is being eroded and the companies are under deep losses, it is better to exit beforehand, because if you don't exit and you stay with the client and there's an actual loss happened, then this will be shared by the bank and you may lose your own principal amount. One again, one technique which is I think I can say a last resort scenario. If you want to terminate the musharaka, the client also agreed to terminate the musharaka, but there is no possibility of a fresh transaction. You just terminate the musharaka and you convert your musharaka investment into a qarz with the client. So you can say, okay, our musharaka ends on say 15th of May. Now for the 20 days, 30 days, I will give you this amount as qarz, and I will not share in the loss of your business. And you will pay the qarz amount to me over the time, unless and until I find a suitable alternative transaction to do with you. So that is you should also keep that in mind when you are dealing with the running musharaka or musharaka client. Second thing, you need to be very careful for the running musharaka and musharaka client. You probably need to talk every week to your client and ask for his projection, ask for his business health, ask for his numbers. So you are not sleeping when the client is using your money in musharaka. You are actually engaged with him on very often basis, maybe on a weekly basis, to discuss the situation, and you need to ask him timely data. Another risk management concept that you can use here is that if you want to continue musharaka, you can ask the client to submit a third-party guarantee, which is not part of the business of this client, which is not owned by an individual or by an entity which is not owned by this client. So this third-party guarantee can help the bank to cover its loss if God forbid it happens in case of running musharaka. Now there are a few other advices and challenges in rescheduling and restructuring. You need Sharia approval. First of all, probably you need to have a overall methodology approved by the Sharia board and Sharia advisor about your restructuring and rescheduling strategy. State Bank or Islamic Banking Department has issued a circular where some of the methods they have mentioned that is approved by their Sharia advisory committee for doing rescheduling and restructuring. But in addition to that, you may also come up with your own methods, and you have to get a overall approval from your Sharia advisor and Sharia board. Then Sharia approval of Sharia approval of restructuring and rescheduling of different facilities at different stages. So the challenge is that again, you need to understand the product, the mode, the stage of the transaction, and then you have to work with the client and work with your product and Sharia team to develop a solution for the client. You have to ensure that Sharia compliance is properly done in all cases, in all restructuring cases. The revised documentation should be Sharia approved, the revised process flow should be Sharia approved, the accounting should be done in a Sharia compliant manner. There is no charging of excess on the curse type transaction. Physical inspections are also becoming difficult, and at least it was, and now maybe as the lockdown ease, the physical inspections will be more often. So there's an additional challenge that it may not be feasible in some scenarios. So you should consider extending the tenure of the transaction instead of going and taking the delivery of the transaction goods, because if you have taken the delivery of the goods and the goods has no market at present, so you can stuck up with the goods. And maybe in some remote cases, you can use some digital methods of ensuring that goods are available, and you maybe using the Zoom or WhatsApp video conferencing facility to record the actual happening at the client side with all the goods there, proper barcode numbers, proper separation in a video call, and you record the call and then you show to the Sharia department, and if they approve it, you can say, okay, this is acceptable. Confirmation and verification of goods procured from suppliers and goods sold to the ultimate buyers is also challenging in the current time. So because some buyers are available, some are not, some shops are open, some shops are not open. So you need to be very careful. There's a potential chances of loss in musharaka transactions due to reduced turnover of the companies, due to inventory losses of the companies, due to inventory obsolescence of the companies, export orders being cancelled. And you have, for example, took a delivery of a t-shirt, 10,000 t-shirts for the coming Olympic, and the Olympic games have been rescheduled. Now this order cancellation can also can convert into a loss for the Islamic Bank. However, after having all done, there is still a chance of loss, NPL. So these are challenging times. These are unique times. We have never seen this time before, and especially for the Islamic industry, we need to be very careful. And maybe still then we have to make some provisions for NPLs, that after all of our efforts, there's a chance of NPL. So you need to be very careful, because you have to protect the right of your financing customers, as well as you have to protect the right of your deposit customers, because they are small whole savers who have kept money in Islamic banks on a profit and loss mechanism. Yes, they have agreed to share the loss, and they may share the loss in some cases, but our desire should be that stage of passing loss to the deposit holders does not come, and we can we intelligently manage the whole situation and the whole scenario. Now what I'll do, I have seen some questions in the chat box. I'll first see what those questions which are not covered, I will try to answer them, and then you can also write your more questions if there is any question. Then as I come down, I will answer those questions. Well, Mr. Fayaz has asked that if the rate reduction is mandatory for all cases. No, as I mentioned, that rate reduction as per PBA is at present only for SME clients, agriculture clients, and consumer financing cases where self-employed professionals like businessmen cases are involved. So at present, the guidelines applies only to these three segments. It is not for corporate, it is not for government, it is not for bonds, it is not for sukuk. Can we use to settle usance LC acceptance with local tijara? Yes, you can do a local tijara transaction, because in tijara, in salam and istisna, the price that you pay to the client becomes under his ownership. So when the price is in the ownership of the client, he can use this fund anywhere he likes to do so. But in murabaha and in musawama, the price is not in the ownership of the client. It is with him as amanat. So if he's using your amanat, he is doing a khayanat, or he is doing a disservice or an illegal act. So in tijara, istisna, salam, yes, he can use the funds to pay. Even he can do a sale and lease back as well. I have answered this question about the consumer. If he has, if he has already applied for loan deferment, yes, he can enjoy the rate reduction provided he falls in the self-employed professional category. Mutual agreement means there may be a difference in rate for different consumers other than a specified rate. This is the current practice as well, that for example, there are different rates for different segments. For example, salaried, the rates are different. For businessmen, the rates are different. From some professionals, the rates are different. So the different regime rate will continue. But what will happen, for example, if I have agreed Khyber plus 4 or Khyber plus 3 as a margin, and I was using the Khyber which was at 12%. Now, in order to use the Khyber of April 1, I will use the same formula of Khyber plus 4, but now the Khyber which I will apply is not for 12%, but it will be, say, 10%. So he will, or she will get a benefit of 2% because of the immediate repricing, or which will happen in April for the month of May. Who will bear the inventory holding cost? Yes, the banks will bear the inventory holding cost, in a sense that now when we do, or if the client is holding as our agent, he can tell us. Normally in Murabaha, we have these arrangements that the client don't charge anything extra. However, the kaful of the inventory should be done, and that is normally in case of istisna, we cover the cost of the kaful under the agency fees that we pay to the client. What about educational institutions? What is the question? And the question is not clear. If the question is what about loan to education institution or facilities to education institutions, they can apply under the wages scheme, wages and salary scheme. The institutions can apply with Islamic banks to, and they can do a sale and lease back transaction or something, and they can use that fund to pay their staff salaries. In case if the istisna is in advanced stage and the customer intends to cancel the order, since it is possible, in this case the customer can cancel the order. There are two options: either you cancel it totally and then you get your principal back without charging any profit, or you can say, okay, your denim order has cancelled, but the customer can say that I will provide you another order which is for, say, bed sheet, so you can replace, if that is a possibility. Otherwise you have to cancel the order and you can charge no profit with this client. You can just take your principal back, or the istisna cost, istisna price that you have paid to the client. If the muraba facility is in the receivable stage and the customer is not able to pay, can we offer a diminishing musharaka? Yes, you can offer him a sale and leaseback facility, and the proceed that you pay him when you buy his house or his property and you pay him the price, he can use that price to pay his previous istisna transaction. Commodity muraba or tawarruk is an extreme option, which is not an open option. It is only in cases where there is no other mode available. Then you can go and you have to ask the approval of your Sharia board or guidelines of your Sharia board if you want to do commodity muraba. If you are extending the ijara tenure, the depreciation amount will change. For example, now there is 3 years remaining initially. Now you are enhancing the transaction to 4 years. Now the transaction will be depreciated over 4 years. So your depreciation charge will go down. In case muraba is in financing stage and customer agrees to pay only the profit portion and request the deferment, in this case, if the customer says, I will not pay the principal amount and I want deferment, if you allow him deferment, you cannot charge any profit. But for this case, you can even refuse. In this case, you can say to the client that, look, Mr. Client, the transaction is all in the financing stage. So I am declining your request for deferment. However, I am offering you a new facility under istisna, tijara, salam, diminishing musharaka. So you avail the new facility, and under the new facility you can charge profit with the client. So even in this case, if you can decline the case as well, that because you don't want to your depositor to suffer a loss. However, if you have another sympathetic view and the client is in real distress and you want to help the client, maybe you can give him a certain period of extension as a purse without charging any profit. In DM, the rent will remain constant, or will it be as per the schedule? No. In the DM case, when you are extending 1 year extension or 1 year grace period you are installing, the rental will just remain constant for the whole 12 months. Because, for example, if he has to pay 100 rupee rent for 1 unit and there are 60 units outstanding, so he will pay 6,000 every month, 6,000. Or if the rental formula change and the new Khyber comes in, he may pay whatever the new Khyber drive rental amount is, but his amount will continue in the grace period. But because there is no reduction in the unit of principal, so and as a general rule, rental will remain constant. What if the ijara customer is not able to use the asset? If we have given the asset to the client and he has taken the delivery, now he is not able to use his trawler on the super highway, but still the trawler is in his possession. He can use it intercity, or even he has the possession. Still, he has to pay the rent because it is not due to the bank that the utility is being restricted. For example, if there's a curfew on street, then all car ijara customer can say we will not pay rent. No, they have the possession of this asset. They have the right given by the bank, and there's no restriction from the bank side. So he will pay and continue to pay the rent. Yes, there are cases where the transaction was in advanced stage, or the asset is at the showroom and it was not delivered to the client. In those cases, yes, he will not pay the rent because the ijara delivery, if the delivery has not taken place, or if the asset is not handed over to the client. I have discussed this case where DM rental and principal are both deferred. I have discussed with ijara as well. So this is the answer will be same, that if you are also deferring the rental portion, then if you agree, then you cannot charge anything extra. You can defer just the amount, and then you can give him a grace period, or you can maybe you can offer him a separate facility, for example, sale and lease back, up to the amount so he can able to pay the rent on your DM. That can be done. But if there's no other option, if you're just deferring his rental, then you will not charge anything on the rental portion because that has become overdue or that has become curse. For rescheduling of DM, may we add due rental in outstanding? No, I mentioned that rental is a separate part. If rental is overdue, that is overdue, that's curse. You cannot earn anything extra. You can just earn on the unit price. We don't offer, the question is, can we offer hiba to a general pool to offset the ijara depreciation loss? You don't inject a hiba in the general pool, however, what you can do when the time of profit distribution, if the income has lowered because of this loss, you can, State Bank has allowed up to 50 to 60% hiba from the mudarib income. So if there's a mudarib income and there's the pool is still in profit, mudarib can partially forego his income as hiba. But if there is no income at all and the overall pool is in the loss, then everyone should share the loss. The question again, how the intent, you see, the principle of ijara is that I have given my asset to you on rent and you have the right to use it. Now, if there's a government restriction or there is a limited restriction, then this is not from my side. So I will continue to have the rent of that asset, because yeah, there may be an extreme scenario where the government has taken over the ijara asset and they have, for example, taken the trolley or the truck or the car in their own possession, and the physical ownership or the physical possession of the ijara asset has not with the client now. That situation, we can say that probably we have to defer the rent, just like the scenario where the asset is in the showroom for 1 month because of repair and maintenance, so we don't charge rent. But if the asset is with the client and maybe as a precaution he's not using it, or he is maybe just using it within the city and not taking it outside the city, which was his own original desire, that is not on part of the lesser, so we will not we have our right to rental in that case. Just like that, for example, I have given a shop on rent to someone and he has not opened the shop. I will get the rent. Yeah, as a goodwill, if I want to reduce my rent, I want to forego my rent, that is my good thing. But as a principle, I will get the rent. General pool may not suffer loss if only principal cost of the asset is deferred while profit portion per registration takaful is recovered. However, even this will serve. Yes, if we in ijara transaction, we will only recover a lower ijara rental as to cover our IRR, then depreciation will continue to be charged and that will reduce the general pool profits. One thing probably I have not mentioned, that if you are extending the tenure, the takaful will also extend for 1 year, and the takaful cost will also be part of the rental for the later year. The question by Mr. Miraj is, a pool of share is used as musharka asset to generate desired return from the musharka pool. Sukuk issuer company wants deferment in principal payment, which were being done by purchasing the share from the musharka pool, but it is expected that musharka pool will not generate desired result. So from where could the issuer pay the desired profit to investor as very low dividend are received? First of all, sukuks are not part of the State Bank plan of deferment. Yes, if the bank and the client voluntarily want to do deferment on a sukuk, that is a separate case. They can do it, but that has to be reported. And in this case, where you said there was a pool of shares and the shares are not giving dividend and there are expected losses. So, and this is a musharaka transaction. So, if the composition still remain of musharaka, then the sukuk holder should suffer and should accept the lower return. And then, or if you can enter into if you can insert a ijara transaction in the pool, or any other new transaction in the pool which is generating higher return, that higher return can compensate for the lower return on the equity portfolio. We can probably share the PDF of this presentation. Either we will put it on our Facebook, or probably we'll put it on our Facebook, and we can share the link with the participants. The observation by Mr. Sarfaraz, this challenge has made explicitly open the difference between Islamic and conventional bank. Yes, they are two different animals. Actually, they are two different things altogether. Yes, they are called banks. But in reality, they are quite different if you understand them properly. If you don't understand, then people can always error that they don't see a difference. For them, I can say that they need to read properly and they need to understand the modes properly. Can DM installment, which is going to be due after 1 year, can be restructured for 1 year? You know, this DM installment, if you means the rental portion, then if you defer it for 1 more year, you cannot charge anything extra. If you, by DM installment, if you mean Muhammad Salimi, the unit portion, yes, that can be deferred by 1 more year. But in that case, this could be this could fall under the restructuring definition of state bank, and you might need to report it in the CIB as a restructured case, because this is a one-off waiver of restructuring till 30th June. Any client coming afterwards or any other restructuring which is not in the scope will be dealt normally. What will be the product for a school seeking salaries? We can do diminishing musharaka with them, or we can do tawarruk type of transaction or bay module of sukuk if they don't have anything. Or maybe we can use the house of the principal or the headmaster or the owner of the school to do a DM. What if in Tijara transaction customer wants to extend tenure by 180 days, but there is no cushion in incentive fee? I think, Waqar, we don't need to extend to that time if there is no incentive fee. Otherwise, if you are taking a view of providing a 0% return to the client, then you can take this view. Or you can say to the client that once you collect the proceeds from the market, the client should pay back to the bank, and the bank can do a new transaction with the client, so he will get the desired liquidity with him. So because the main fear of the client is that they are not getting the desired liquidity, or their banking line might be reduced. So if you are taking care of that, I think then that's not a bigger issue. In case of IRS, is there any relief? No, in case of IRS, there is no relief in the principle. There is just a relief in terms of showing the performance to State Bank about the export. Can you reiterate the RB point in Ijara? How can it use to? You see, in Ijara transaction, normally we kept the security deposit to 0 at the end of the transaction. So as a result, the asset is gifted to the client or sold at a very low amount. But we can also calculate we can recompute and say that, look, Mr. Client, that we will not sell you the asset at 100 rupees at the end. We will sell the asset at 25% of the original cost. This 25 of the original cost is the new RV. So we will recompute the Ijara schedule. That present value is, say, for example, the car is of 10 lakh. He has paid 5 installments, and the balance book value is say 950,000, or outstanding is 950. When we compute the Ijara schedule, we say FV is 0, PV whatever 950. But in case of RV, we say FV is equal to 250,000 and PV is equal to 950,000. So in this manner, we compute a new Ijara rent. We agree with the client, and at the end we sell it on RV. Converting, converting running musharaka to qarz. One thing is we need to be clear that in musharaka, both partner has the right to exit musharaka. We are not, we are in musharaka, but it does not mean that we become ignorant of the market happening. So if the market is going on a downside, it's our right to protect ourselves and to exit a musharaka transaction by foreseeing the future losses, because we don't want this person to continue, or we don't want this person in this business, we don't want to remain in this business, so we can exit. But what we are saying that to exit, we can if we want to exit, we can instead of just abruptly exiting, we can offer him alternative product, or we can offer him an alternative first. Conventional bank are nowhere near to this. There's nothing as compared in conventional bank even closer to this. They don't even think of musharaka. So, but for example, there are banks who are invested in stocks. They have exited in the stock market. So because they foresee a future loss or decline in price. So it's business, and you need to manage your depositors' fund in a prudent manner. If you just sit idle on your depositor fund, you are not fulfilling your responsibility. Can Tijara or istisna be can offer for more? Tijara might be difficult for 1 year, but istisna can be offered for more than 1 year. What if the customer has not availed any financing and exporter is good, but importer informed to exporter that he cannot pay the price? There will be there any loss? But there is no financing transaction, so there will be a loss to the customer, and for that loss, customer may, to cover that loss, customer can come to us and take a new financing under sale and leaseback or any under different mode. But this is a loss that has happened to the client, and he wants a financing to cover that loss. Sir, which party will bear the cost of holding inventory in case? Originally, the cost of inventory is to be borne by the bank, which is the real owner. However, banks normally do arrangement with the clients where the client provide free warehouse. However, if any takaful is required, the bank, in case of muraba, should incorporate the cost of takaful in its cost. In case of istisna tijara salam, we normally pay client under agency fee a fixed amount, a reasonable fixed amount, and ask him to cover for the takaful. And if that amount is not sufficient, the client can come and renegotiate with us. If the DM Ijara facility is in grace period and the first installment is due, can we defer those? Yes, if there's a grace period to if the grace period is, you say there's already a grace period of 1 year, and say then you want an additional grace period. Yes, you can do so, because if the transaction has already happened, it's because if you are saying grace period till June 30 June 2021, it means the transaction has not started. The facility of State Bank is not for future transaction; it is for the existing current transaction. So if the transaction is current and there's a grace period, yes, you can extend the grace period. How you can facilitate exporter who have availed currency salam and unable to settle from own sources? Again, you can do a sale and leaseback with the client. You can do some another transaction which will help them to get liquidity, and from that liquidity he can buy the dollar from the market and settle the salam transaction. If in istisna transaction client want to, how we can provide benefit of fiber reduction if the customer intend to prepay istisna. You see, if the transaction is terminated in the advanced stage, then you can't charge anything at all to the customer. There is no fiber being charged. So, but that will be lost to the bank. What you can say, maybe you can ask him to deliver some portion of the goods, and you try to make profit out of that small portion, and then ask him to settle the facility. But if he insists that he don't want to deliver the goods, he want to pay back by cancelling the istisna, then you can't charge actually. Sir, in istisna, what if the client say he's unable to sell the proceed and pay back? Sell the proceed nahi hoga. It means if he's unable to sell the goods and pay back, should be what we should do. You know, if the client is not getting the money from the third party, then in that case we put a corporate guarantee structure where the client is independently guaranteeing that. If the client is saying that I have got the money from the third party, but I don't want you to pay, I don't want it to pay back to the bank, then we can offer this client a new facility or new transaction. So because the fear of the client is that if he pays once to the bank will not extend him a new facility. So you can extend a new facility with this understanding that he will pay the previous collected price on your behalf to the bank, so to close the transaction. Any transaction which is under grace period, this is normally in DM. I mentioned earlier, we can extend the grace period further. Schools normally classes come under SME because private schools they come normally under SME. So because of the turnover and the employee size, they can come under SME. Currently, Etisham asked what Islamic banks are planning to create new jobs economy. You know, currently this is probably not the function of Islamic banks at present. They are a player. They have to mitigate and manage their own side, the depositor money and the financing side. It is the government that have to put make new stimulus to provide new jobs in the economy and create new economic opportunity. Islamic banks as a player will support this. For example, we have supported the expansion of hospitals by providing 0% loan. We are providing as SMEs and corporate low cost financing through State Bank for wages and salaries. We are providing facilities for long-term export oriented projects and long-term expansion at a very low rate. So banks are doing their part way, which is financial intermediation. Yes, maybe when Islamic banks with the law of the Pakistan changed and Islamic banks are allowed to own businesses, run their own businesses, open their own showrooms, we will love to do that, and we want to then acquire companies, do our own businesses, and in that process we can create additional jobs for the economy. In case of Ijara where profit and principal are both deferred without any impact, what will that period be called? What I'm saying is that the rental is due, that the rental is being earned but is not collected. So it will still be a Ijara period. You will continue to record the rental accrue in income on the basis of accrual principle on your income statement, but you're not collecting it on is there any possibility to maintain IRR and allow deferment of principal and profit? If the amount is not overdue as yet, you are taking a decision today, you can adjust your rentals for the future. But if the amount is due, then nothing can be done on the due amount portion, but on the principal portion you can do things. In case of DM, can we give a 6 month grace period? No, as per our Shariah board, the grace period is 12 months. But there's one workaround solution is that say after 9 months the customer want to buy unit, you don't sell him the unit, but you take his money and keep it in a mudarba based margin account, and as a result and reduce his rent. So as a result, you will pass on the same benefit, but also not violating the Sharia principle. Sir, in istisna transaction after delivery of goods are handed to the customer as an agent. At this stage, how matter of takaful is handled? Ideally, the bank should do the insurance, or ask his agent customer, because the goods are in his factory, to get the insurance done on bank's behalf. So this is important. If the customer want to terminate musharaka and want to purchase, is that possible? Yes, it is. It's like that. If I am the question is, if the customer want to terminate musharaka and want to buy bank's investment, yes, it is possible that he can or she can buy the bank's investment in the business. We will not call it murabaha, probably it will just call it a sale. That customer will say, okay, you have 10% stake in the business, but for this purpose we have to actually get the accurate data of the same date. For example, today is 6th May, we want to do a transaction today. We need to halt the things, we need to get the data of today to ensure exactly how much we own in the business, and then we can sell our share to the client. I think now this takes us to the end of the session. This is our continued series of webinars from IBA. I'm sure with the limitation of technology and with the limitation of remote conducting these sessions, I hope that you have all enjoyed the session. You have learned some new points. Do share your feedback with us on our Facebook, on our emails, so we understand how to improve these sessions. And inshallah, IBA CEIF as a leading center of excellence in Islamic finance will be conducting more sessions on similar topics or more advanced topics, inshallah. Thank you everyone. Just one last clarity, Ajmal Saab has mentioned. This rate revision facility is not applicable where the transaction is a fixed rate transaction. For example, there are banks who do fixed rate transaction on without involving KIBOR. So the rate revision of KIBOR will not apply on them. So with this word, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining IBA CEIF. I hope you have enjoyed. We will share this presentation probably on IBA CEIF Facebook, and you will get the link to learn and to share. You can share your feedback. You can share your improvements. And inshallah, I wish happy Ramzan, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah end this coronavirus from Pakistan and from the world, and also make us realize that this is due, some of these problems actually are due to our own wrongdoings, so we can save ourselves from these wrongdoings, and we can save Pakistan from riba. So thank you very much, and jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.